What if I told you that an AI can now judge creativity like a human? Not just checking if something works, not just verifying the code runs, but actually looking at an app, or a website, or a chart, and saying, this button feels wrong. These animations are awkward, the color scheme just doesn't look right. Yeah, sounds impossible, doesn't it? Well, Tencent just made it real. And if you're building anything with AI, from apps to games to interactive dashboards, this changes everything. Welcome back to WorldScope News, where we break down the future before it arrives. Today, we're diving into ArtifactsBench, Tencent's brand new system that may have quietly solved one of the biggest flaws in AI development. Not the flaw in intelligence, the flaw in taste. Let's rewind. Over the past few years, we've all seen the rise of AI tools that can generate code. You type a prompt, make me a login page, and boom, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, done in seconds. But then you preview it, and you get something that technically works, but looks like it was designed in 2002. The buttons are awkwardly spaced. The fonts are mismatched. The animations feel janky or missing altogether. And you realize, the code runs, but it has zero sense of aesthetic. It's like asking a robot to paint a masterpiece. Sure, it puts color on canvas. But does it feel right? Until now, we've been testing AI models in a way that completely ignored that question. Traditional benchmarks focus on just one thing: does the code work? They don't ask, is the design intuitive? Is the user experience smooth? Is the final product something people actually enjoy using? And that's a massive blind spot. Because today, UX is everything. You could have the most functional app in the world, but if it doesn't feel right, no one will use it. This is where ArtifactsBench comes in. Tencent didn't just build another code-checking tool. They created something far more ambitious, a benchmark, but also a creative judge. Its mission, to evaluate not just whether AI-generated code works, but whether it looks and feels good. That means checking user interface quality, animation smoothness, layout balance, color harmony, interactive flow, and yes, even design taste. So how does it work? ArtifactsBench follows a fascinating multi-step process that almost mimics the way a human designer would review someone else's work. Step 1. The system gives a challenge to an AI model. There are over 1,800 tasks in its library. These tasks include things like building a responsive dashboard, creating a data visualization tool, designing a mini-game, coding a web-based calculator with transitions, and more. Once the AI completes the task by generating code, ArtifactsBench steps in. Step 2. It runs the code in a sandboxed environment, a safe space where the app can be tested without outside interference. But here's the genius part. Instead of just checking the output once, it captures screenshots over time as the app runs. It records the animations. It tracks how the screen changes when you click a button. It observes how elements appear and disappear in response to interaction. This allows it to evaluate dynamic behavior, not just static visuals. Step 3. It gathers the full package. The original prompt, the AI's code, the screenshots, and sends them to a powerful multimodal LLM, or MLLM, for judging. Yes, you heard that right. ArtifactsBench lets one AI judge another AI's design work. But this isn't some vague, subjective judgment like, looks okay. The MLLM follows a detailed scoring rubric, a per-task checklist with 10 distinct evaluation metrics. These include functional correctness, visual alignment, aesthetic balance, interaction feedback, animation performance, design responsiveness, layout consistency, font legibility, component usability, overall polish. That's not a guess, it's a quantified evaluation. And that means the system can score outputs with fairness, consistency, and depth. But here's the real kicker. So let's get real. You might be thinking, okay, it can score designs. But does it actually do a good job? I mean, can it really judge like a human? Well, the data says yes. When Tencent compared the rankings from ArtifactsBench to WebDev Arena, a human-based voting platform where developers pick the best AI outputs, they found a 94.4% agreement rate. That means in nearly every case, the automated system's top picks matched what real people picked too. And that's a massive leap forward. Older automated benchmarks, they barely crossed 69% consistency. ArtifactsBench hit nearly 95%. And if that wasn't enough, it also matched professional developer evaluations over 90% of the time. So yeah, this benchmark doesn't just evaluate, it evaluates well. It's not a gimmick, it's not smoke and mirrors. It's real, and it works. Now this is where things get even more interesting. When Tencent put over 30 top AI models to the test using ArtifactsBench, they expected one thing. That the specialist models, the ones built specifically for code or visual tasks, would dominate. But the results told a different story. The top performers weren't the ultra-focused coder, Ash. They were the generalist models, the ones trained to do a little bit of everything. For example, QWEN 2.5 Instruct, a general-purpose model, outperformed its own siblings. QWEN 2.5 Coder, code-focused, QWEN 2.5 VL, vision-focused, that's right. The jack of all trades beat the specialist. But why? The answer is actually deeper than it seems. Design is not just about knowing where to put div tags or how to center a button with Flexbox. It's about intuition. It's about reasoning, aesthetic understanding, and sensitivity to user flow. According to the Tencent researchers, the generalist models excelled because they could blend multiple skill sets at once: robust reasoning, nuanced instruction following, and most critically, an implicit sense of design aesthetics. That's the kind of holistic judgment you can't fake with just a code-focused dataset. And it's also a sign that the future of creative AI may not lie in narrow specialization, but in broad, well-rounded intelligence. So what does all this mean for the real world? Well, think about all the ways we rely on AI today: designing landing pages, generating user interfaces, building dashboards for clients, crafting digital products quickly, developing MVPs with small teams. In every one of those cases, the ability to trust your AI tool to produce not just functioning, but usable and beautiful code is a game changer. Before ArtifactsBench, we had no reliable way to measure that. Now we do, and it means developers, startups, and product designers can compare AI tools based on user experience quality. Select models that generate better front ends. Optimize workflows for real users, not just raw performance. Reduce manual fixes of ugly auto-generated interfaces. And if you're in business, that means faster launch times, better design at lower cost, and happier users. Let's zoom out, because this isn't just about better benchmarks. It's about a paradigm shift. Tencent isn't trying to make AI better at coding. They're trying to make AI better at designing for humans. And that means rethinking how we train, score, and deploy AI models. It's no longer enough to ask, does it work? Now we have to ask, is it delightful? Is it trustworthy? Is it elegant? That's the next frontier, and ArtifactsBench is the first real map we've got to get there. Benchmarks like ArtifactsBench aren't just about showing off. They're the foundation of progress. Every leap in AI over the last decade has been driven by better benchmarks. ImageNet reshaped how we measure computer vision. Glue and Superglue pushed the limits of language models. AlphaFold solved decades-old biology problems with clear scoring frameworks. ArtifactsBench, it might be that benchmark for creative generation and interface design. Because once you can measure something, you can improve it. For AI developers and model trainers, this gives them a clear, detailed scoring system that tells them where the model fails aesthetically, how it performs on real-world interface tasks, whether it's getting closer to human-like judgment. And that's powerful. It doesn't just rank models. It guides their evolution. Now let's talk to the developers, founders, and makers out there. If you're using AI to build interfaces, auto-generate dashboards, create internal tools, design anything customer-facing, then ArtifactsBench gives you a shortcut to higher quality. Instead of relying on gut instinct, or worse, waiting for users to complain, you can now choose the models that rank higher on UX fidelity. Compare outputs side by side with MLLM-backed scoring. Focus on creativity instead of fixing layout bugs. And here's a tip from WorldScope News. If you're prototyping something quickly, try this flow. Generate the first draft of your UI with a generalist AI like Gemini or Claude. Use an ArtifactsBench scored model for refinement. Test interactivity in a sandbox or simulator environment. Run your outputs through a rubric-style checklist, even if you do it manually for now. That's how you get production-ready UI in hours, not weeks. Let's dream a bit bigger now. Imagine an eye that doesn't just code, but knows what a good user experience feels like. It anticipates your user's frustration. It avoids awkward spacing or unnecessary clicks. It gently guides behavior through layout, motion, and color. That's not sci-fi anymore. That's the direction models are heading. Because now, we finally have a target to aim at. When AI can score UX the same way it scores logic or accuracy, taste becomes trainable. That opens the door to emotionally intelligent interfaces, adaptive front ends tailored to specific user preferences, truly co-creative AI partners for design and product development. In the same way that GPT models revolutionized writing, ArtifactsBench could trigger a revolution in digital product aesthetics. And the models that score well here, they'll shape the next decade of design. So what are we learning from the current leaderboard? Well, when Tencent tested 30+ top models, here's what stood out. Claude 4.0 Sonnet and Gemini 2.5 Pro scored the highest, showing that leading generalist models can hold their own even in design-heavy tasks. Specialized models like QWEN 2.5 Coder underperformed compared to their generalist sibling QWEN 2.5 Instruct. The ability to follow nuanced prompts, reason through layout logic, and produce balanced interfaces was more important than just raw coding skill. That's a huge takeaway. We're seeing that modern design isn't about code versus visuals. It's about hybrid intelligence, models that can balance logic, aesthetics, and empathy. And the top score is in ArtifactsBench. They're the ones that reflect that balance best. Another underrated win: fairness and consistency. In traditional design evaluation, you're always dealing with subjective opinions. One designer likes minimalism, another prefers color. One developer values speed, another favors polish. Votes fluctuate wildly depending on who's judging. ArtifactsBench solves this by applying a consistent rubric every single time. That means, models aren't judged by trend, but by standard. There's less bias in model comparisons. Developers get clearer, actionable feedback. In short, it removes the noise, so AI training can focus on what matters, building better user experiences. And as future design tasks get more complex, this kind of stable judgment system becomes even more critical. But what about the ASH that didn't perform so well? Well, they're not out of the game, but they've got work to do. Low scores on ArtifactsBench don't mean a model is broken. They simply reveal weaknesses in visual reasoning, gaps in prompt understanding, or missing elements in animation or feedback systems. That's valuable data, and now, developers working on these models can improve them targeted and specifically. It's like having a performance coach for your AI, too slow on state changes. Color contrast isn't accessible, interaction logic feels clunky. That kind of granular feedback turns losses into fuel for improvement. Now let's pull the lens back again. In an AI-driven economy, speed is everything. But speed without quality is worthless. ArtifactsBench gives us the framework to balance both. And the ripple effects are massive. AI product studios can use the benchmark to vet tools. Startups can rapidly prototype MVPs with verified UX standards. Enterprises can push for design quality without hiring entire UX teams. Researchers can measure design intelligence with clarity and depth. It's not just a tool for Tencent. It's a standard for everyone. Expect to see more cloud platforms and dev suites start surfacing these scores in their APIs and dashboards. Here's a twist. ArtifactsBench isn't just good for judging AI work. It could help human designers improve too. Imagine a Figma or Webflow plugin that instantly analyzes your layout, flags poor spacing, suggests smoother transitions, scores your design the same way it scores an AI's. You'd have a real-time design tutor, powered by ArtifactsBench logic. That could democratize great design even further. Designers, devs, marketers, anyone could start getting feedback with the precision of an expert UX reviewer. And with human-AI collaboration becoming the norm, tools like this are about to become essential in the creative stack. At the heart of this is something bigger. If we want AI to work alongside us, not just as assistants but as co-creators, then they have to understand more than function. They have to understand emotion, intent, aesthetic balance, human frustration, delight, and until now, we had no way to measure those things in a repeatable, automated way. But ArtifactsBench, it's a first glimpse into that possibility. It suggests that someday soon, your AI assistant won't just know how to make a website. It'll know how to make one that makes people smile. So what's next for Tencent and ArtifactsBench? Here's what we think at WorldScope News. Integration with development platforms. Imagine ArtifactsBench scoring built into Tencent cloud or coding platforms like Replit. Expansion to mobile UI, scoring Android or iOS interfaces automatically. Live preview evaluation, real-time scoring as code is generated. Open leaderboard, where developers can test and compare their own models. Model fine-tuning frameworks, where devs can use ArtifactsBench scores to self-train aesthetic improvements. In short, expect it to evolve fast. Because once a benchmark works this well, the ecosystem follows. We're entering a new era. An era where the question isn't, can AI create? But rather, can AI create with taste? Tencent's ArtifactsBench isn't perfect, but it's a massive leap toward that answer. It's the kind of shift that will change how we design, how we build, and even how we collaborate with machines. From coders to creators, from tools to teammates, AI is growing up, and benchmarks like this are the growing pains. At WorldScope News, we'll keep tracking these breakthroughs so you don't miss a thing. So if you're building with AI, remember, it's not just about what it does. It's about how it makes people feel. If you found this breakdown helpful, insightful, or just fascinating, don't forget to subscribe to WorldScope News, hit that notification bell and drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you trust an AI to judge creativity? Or should that stay a human job? And hey, if you want to dive deeper into the models that scored highest, and how they compare, check out our next video on Gemini versus Claude in the age of UXI. Thanks for watching, we'll see you in the future.